Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. We got a lot to check in on in the crypto space. Bulls just showed up in response to a headline. We got the FOMC tomorrow. Is it going to be a sell the news event? How is it going to impact altcoins? We've got minor stocks showing some strength. Learn how to trade stocks, crypto, and hype sectors with a global chat room led by professional traders, as well as daily live streams at chartguys.com. All right, so first things first, what's the headline today? US and UK announced closer crypto cooperation deal, including stablecoins. That was at 1:03 p.m. If you look at Bitcoin, 1 o'clock, volume starts coming in, solid leg up. You look at some stocks, BMNR, 1 o'clock, big volume spike, new high of the day. Some things were clearly reacting to that. So good sign for the bulls, we'll take it. And you got Bitcoin as a daily bull flag trying to confirm. And we had a little bit of back and forth where this was a triple top, or really actually yesterday it was a double top. So we double topped at resistance. We started consolidation, didn't get very far. And here we are testing this resistance again. Bulls definitely want to ensure they break it. If we were to start hourly consolidation from here, then obviously we still got to be watching this level. Need to clear 117,000 and then right behind it 117.5 here. Might as well just make that a resistance zone. Let's do that. Again, one thing that I've been doing a lot more, first decade of trading, I was looking at levels, a line in the sand level for price support and resistance. And so much more the last 5 years, it's zones. It's not pinpoint exact. And so what we have here is previous support, look at the way down, 116.8 held, then it was resistance, and now we're battling it. So I'm marking that level. That's now a very important short-term support, 114.4, because if we were to lose that, then a weekly lower high would be shaping up. And so obviously the FOMC reaction tomorrow is going to be volatile, and it is going to dictate whether or not we break bull over this range and hit the highest level in weeks, or whether we fail and head back down to daily support. The broader market heading into the FOMC is about as bullish as you can get. The NASDAQ has set, and the S&P 500 both have set a higher low every single day. Today's shaping up to be the 10th day in a row. That's 2 entire trading weeks of a higher low every single day in blue sky breakout. It's as strong as you can get. And so there's a couple things about that. Number one, if it's a bearish reaction, we've got a lot of space for a daily higher low. We can pull back 2%, 3% and form a daily higher low. And of course, if it's a bullish reaction, we're just going to keep ripping in blue sky breakout. As far as what the market's anticipating for the FOMC, it's been over a 90% probability of a 25 basis point cut for weeks at this point. Right now, it's probably 96% chance. There's a 4% chance of a 50 basis point cut. If we were to get a 50 point, or if we were to get no cut, then the market's going to significantly volatilely react. If we get a 25 basis cut, then there will be less of a reaction at 2 p.m. Eastern, and the more significant reaction will be at 2:30 p.m. when Powell begins speaking, and the market then starts to digest his forward-looking statements to try and anticipate what the next FOMC meetings are going to do. So generally speaking, when you get a very high probable, most likely scenario happening, there is volatility at 2 p.m., but the real volatility happens 2:30 p.m. onward. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that. Is it priced in? What if we get a 25 basis point cut and the market was ready for it? And that's what this run-up has been. Let's just say the last 2 weeks. Again, I'm still talking about the broader market. Bitcoin, well, we've been going up the last 2 weeks here in Bitcoin as well. But is that pricing in the 25 basis point cut? It absolutely could be, which again is why it's possible it's an initial sell the news event. But again, we would look for a daily higher low to be the response to a sell the news event. And there's a lot of FOMO in the markets right now, and bulls are buying dips. So until something glaringly changes, we're going to anticipate that that's going to continue. What the crypto market is hoping for is that this FOMC meeting ignites the altcoin space. And there's a couple bullish setups, potentially bullish setups that we're going to be looking in just a moment. Ethereum's struggling a bit. We're back testing this level. Remember how tough 4,500 was? So 4,500 was a wall, and we battled for it yesterday, and we're still battling for it right now. I mean, we're at 4,500 right now. We dipped below it. Now we're battling it as resistance. Yesterday, we were battling it as support. There's a lot of price action at 4,500. We are already pulling back a little bit more than bulls want to see, and the relative weakness is showing itself. ETH BTC is heading back towards these lows. It will definitely stand out to us if that breaks and we hit fresh lows on ETH BTC. But the way I'm viewing ETH right now is a 2-day equilibrium. So I'm viewing it as the all-time high, our higher low, now a lower high, and I'm viewing it as anything above 4,200 will be a 2-day higher low. And we'll look to potentially keep tightening up here. But while this is going on, attention has been going elsewhere to other altcoins. Binance, all-time high today. Daily bull flag confirmed. It's not going to make you rich in a couple of days, but it's a nice solid uptrend for one of the, I guess we'll call it a legacy coin. There's a lot of names that were bullish last week and into Saturday that are looking for daily higher lows. Binance was one of them. It's already said it. Sol is another one looking for a daily higher low. It's been a lead bull. Daily inside bar. Again, very healthy consolidation. We just had a daily stair-step pattern here 8 days in a row. But we're scouting that daily higher low. You've got Hype. Hype's one of these more recent blue sky names. It's looking for a daily higher low. We had this 4-hour falling wedge, break bull, back test and hold. Now trying to confirm this 4-hour uptrend to set the daily higher low. So all of these names still look just fine. Sol, BNB, Hype, just looking for that daily higher low. There's another group of altcoins that have a different setup. Doge is another one looking for the daily higher low. Again, retraced more than bulls want to see, ideally, but we're looking for the daily higher low. There's EMA 12 support trying to hold. Now the bulls need to shape up a 4-hour trend change. Maybe it ends up being a 2-hour inverse head and shoulders here. So I'm compartmentalizing the altcoins into two groups. The lead bulls from last week that are scouting daily higher lows, with Binance leading the way. And then these other names that have potential 2-day inverse head and shoulders patterns. And we'll just go down a bunch of the list to show you what I mean. And it has to be a bullish reaction to the FOMC if these are going to shape up. And so Adam's not a great example. Adam's got a nice clear range on the 2-day. Again, just mark your zones. We're going to keep going. Every time we reject from resistance, we're going to head back towards support. If we hold support, we're going to head back to resistance. Just a sideways range for a month that we've been trading within. Where are my good examples? Okay, so APT. This is one of the 2-day inverse head and shoulders that needs a bullish FOMC reaction to set the 2-day higher low and confirm that inverse head and shoulders. And ETH is not exactly the same thing, but similar. It needs a bullish reaction to the FOMC to set the 2-day higher low. Litecoin's another one. So there's a handful of these setups. ADA. Got to set the 2-day higher low, get the bullish FOMC reaction, and see another leg up. As far as lead bears, XRP is a version as well. As far as the lead bears, CRV is one of them. We're testing the low. Technically, at least on Coinbase, we just hit the lowest price in months today. And most of the altcoins are not testing recent lows. It's a double bottom at the moment. But again, whenever I'm, analyzing the sector as a whole, I want the lead bulls like Binance and the strong names from last week. I want names that have, either weekly equilibriums that we've been watching or those 2-day inverse head and shoulders, which are in the middle, and then some of the lead bears. And CRV is definitely one of them because of the fact that we're back testing that low. So the weekly equilibriums that we were watching, we were looking at them on names like Mana. And again, Mana looking for the daily higher low off of EMA 12. After this weekly equilibrium broke one resistance level bull, we didn't break the second. So still tight ranges on a lot of these altcoins. The lead bulls have clear uptrends. Most names have sideways chopping around ranges for the last month plus. Some names weaker, but for the most part, most names are in this sideways range. As you know, the names that are in blue sky are worth focusing on more. Just like Binance is showing us, just like Hype has shown us, it's obviously better to be in a name that is in an uptrend already and has a lack of resistance versus names that are trying to break out of ranges that they are still essentially contained within. But this is a resistance zone on Hype. We're holding it on a back test initially. Another thing that I'm keeping an eye on is mentally I've lumped the classic miners in with altcoins just because they've been underperforming this cycle. And by the classic miners, I mean Riot, MARA, CLSK. They've been very disappointing, but they are showing up. Riot is the leader of that group. Riot has seen, this was a little cup and handle that we talked about last stream last week. That's been following through. So are these names about to come to life? Riot bulls want a break of 2065. So that's one thing I'm going to be watching for. If alts come to life, do these, I'm going to call them legacy miners, come to life as well? MARA finally got over a daily resistance wall that it was really struggling at. They still have a ton of proving to do. The darlings of the mining space have been the ones that have lumped in the AI narrative. So IREN getting that AI narrative hype with its, again, just blue sky breakout, right? A newer name, a name that has only been trading for the last, the 2020, end of 2021 is when it started. Whereas you got a name like Riot and there's just way more price history. It's been trading a lot longer than that. So IREN, blue sky breakout, worth the extra focus. And then you got other names like BITF, which has been in a monster breakout. Again, low cap penny stock kind of name, but the last, we're up 100% in the last week and a half of trading, or really just 1 week of trading. Again, still a lot of resistance overhead here, so definitely not in blue sky breakout, but again, it's attaching that AI narrative, which gives it extra boost. So all that said, and I'm going to read the chat room here in just a moment, and I'm going to look at, wow, there's so many likes and shares. I can't even believe it. But where we stand is Bitcoin trying to confirm a daily bull flag, looking just fine on its bounce. We are aware that if the markets see an FOMC bearish reaction, a weekly lower high is possible on Bitcoin, but the burden's on bears to prove that to us. We have a number of crypto stocks that have been trading nice and strong. BMNR is still shaping up its weekly equilibrium, looking for this one to tighten potentially into October and give us a break in October. But Riot is a shift that has been going on. And again, the altcoins. Ideally, I'd rather be focusing on the altcoins that are breaking bull and in nice daily uptrends. But we are watching, if we're going to get an alt season, we have to see all these sideways coins break bull. And we have to be able to say, highest levels we've seen in the last 5 months. That needs to happen for anything to be meaningful. I mean, you got so many of these names down this list. OP has been sideways for months. SUI, sideways for months. All these names got to break bull if you're going to be talking alt season. And the dominance chart needs to fall apart. And it's not at the moment. If you're going to give me the ideal scenario, give me another Bitcoin leading leg up to all-time highs, 140,000. While that's happening, give me a monthly bounce on the dominance, and then give me a monthly head and shoulders for alt season. But I have no idea if that's going to happen or not. So, focus on maybe a couple sideways names, but ideally the names that are in breakout. Proximity to all-time highs is so very valuable. All right, reading the chat. Lori still does her morning streams every Wednesday. Thanks, John. All over it. Coin, let's check in on coin. So again, pretty lackluster recently. Well, I mean, we're grinding up, right? We've got the daily stair step for 7 days, but this is the most important resistance for me. There's your base of support. Again, it's a zone, right? The low was 293.31. We broke it, but that's a zone of support. We can put up a resistance zone as well here. And so nothing is going to change if we reject from this resistance into daily consolidation. We're just going to remain sideways. There's a whole lot of sideways out there. The tighter a sideways range gets, the more we know volatility is coming. That was the case on a bunch of these weekly equilibriums, Doge, Mana, Sand, etc. We could say volatility is coming in September. These ranges are going to break. You know, we don't know which direction they're going to break. We can develop our bias based on our analysis, based on, you know, other outside factors, but we're still sideways in so many places. And that requires patience. So Daffy doesn't think alts will do well until late October, early November. So if that's the case, again, maybe that's that dominance monthly head and shoulders. Ideally, Bitcoin, another leg up. Anytime Bitcoin gets a new all-time high, it's almost like a little bit of a confidence. Confidence seeps out elsewhere. Okay, new all-time. We're not topping yet. Okay. And, you know, then bulls look to put their money elsewhere in things to follow it. IP. Looking crazy strong. Definitely strong. Again, blue sky on Coinbase. Is it blue sky everywhere? Yeah. So yeah, definitely worth paying attention to. Daily EMA 12 still holding. Keeping bulls in control. Back testing previous resistance, trying to hold his support. What else do we do? Zora shift recently here. So Zora's working on a longer term higher low. Weekly EMA 12 trying to hold. Hut, another one of the miners. Haven't looked at it. Yeah, definitely. So again, Hut, we could say highest price in years. That definitely is a statement that stands out. So big leg up recently on Hut. Definitely a good one. Really, it's, you know, CLSK and MARA are trying to play laggards to all these, I assume they're smaller market caps that are leading on this move and have been for quite some time. CLSK, so it's one of the weakest ones out there. I mean, it's catching up, trying to. You know, little daily bull flag confirmed, real solid day today. But again, it's when you zoom out that's the issue. You know, we're trying to confirm the first monthly uptrend of the year, you know, of the last year and a half. This was a monthly downtrend, lower high, lower low, lower high. So this is the monthly inverse head and shoulders trying to shape up. This has to be the monthly higher low. If I'm looking on the longer term time frames and I'm establishing a trade game plan, my thesis is 888 must hold, otherwise we're not going anywhere. That has to be the monthly higher low to confirm the monthly uptrend. And then we got a 6-month equilibrium. Look at how long this one's been tightening up. This is 6 years in the making. 6-month higher low just set. Got to get over 2472. That's worth watching. That's a nice, long, drawn-out equilibrium. Still, again, a very wide range. We could trade within that range for another 6 months. If you put on the magnet and press Alt-H, it gives you the lines. Thanks, Bud, listening for 8 years. BCH, so it had recently been showing relative strength. I haven't looked in a while. Nice tightening daily range. Little mini equilibrium there. Low, high, higher, low. Still hanging on just fine. Let's go weekly. Nice hold of EMA 12. Good sign. That's a cup and handle. Resistance. Significant consolidation, fail resistance, bull flag. So my simple statement would be, if 524 is support, then that's a cup and handle. And it's just charging up, tightening up. And, if we break bull there, you got to break all 3 of those levels and get to all-time highs quickly. But, oh, that's not all-time highs. That'd be nice, huh? Get to multi-year highs quickly. But that's definitely worth paying attention to. And BCH, again, we've been getting more signs of altcoins showing us life the last month. But, there was a period there where altcoins weren't doing anything. And BCH was standing out. Here's BCH in an uptrend against Bitcoin for the last 4+ months. That's impressive. This equilibrium broke bull. We do have to be cautious of rising wedge. So I would just draw that to be aware of it. Let's go to the daily to get a little more detail. Just draw some trend lines real quick so we don't get caught off guard. Could say it's already breaking bear. Let's keep it simple. If weekly EMA 12 is support on BCH, BTC, then it's just fine. Lose that, and we got to be cautious of the relative strength for months shifting to relative weakness for a while. But BCH definitely worth paying attention to for that weekly bull flag. Do I think weakness in the broader market will have less of an impact than it would on the crypto market in years prior? No. I think it will have the same impact. I mean, Bitcoin's bear cycles, broader market weakness was a part of that, but it was, when Bitcoin's doing its minus 80%, which I do think the gains to the upside are going to be more limited. I do think the gains to the downside will be more limited. Maybe a bear market is 60% instead of 80% these days. But I do believe that broader market weakness will definitely still negatively impact. Everything is just so correlated and tied together. And again, the ETFs will be used to short crypto with a wider range of availability. Again, just using me as an example, because anytime I can use me as an example, you magnify it by hundreds of thousands of other traders. Sticking to Coinbase and not going to FTX and all these other exchanges in my crypto career, I have not had an easy way to short crypto at any point. If I really wanted to, I could go elsewhere and find it, take a little more risk of my capital and things like that. But now I have so much more, again, just because I can short an ETF in Bitcoin, I've got 5 times more capital that I could ever long Bitcoin with on Coinbase in my Fidelity account. So I'm not saying that everybody's going to short Bitcoin. I'm just saying that the next bear market in the broader market that negatively impacts Bitcoin, you will have the most accessibility. I don't know if that's a word. Accessibility, yeah. The most accessibility of people to short Bitcoin in history. So it's, it's a balance. Why do I not think that will lead to another 80% bear market? Just because there are a bunch of people that are going to invest and just hold through the bear market with their ETF holdings. But it's, it's still going to be a thing. We're still going to drop a bunch in a bear market. Yeah, I can agree with that. 25 basis point cut, and we consolidate because it's being priced in the last bunch of weeks. 50 basis point cut surprises the market, and we rip. That's logical enough for me. AVNT, are we blue sky? So did we just start trading? So yeah, that's a nice run since being listed on Coinbase. Yeah. Yeah, daily stair step. When the daily stair step breaks, daily consolidation is underway. We then look for eventually a daily higher low. You want to see the back burners continue to work. So you want to see hourly oversold, ideally hold. And here we are back testing this sideways range. So all this price action, ideally that holds. Bulls want this to be an hourly falling wedge to mark a 12-hour higher low. Probably even just a channel there. Well, yeah, I'd keep an eye on that possible hourly falling wedge for a 12-hour higher low. But again, anything that's gone straight up on the daily like that to the tune of 500%, daily consolidation's coming. So any, long trades that you're doing at this point on the shorter term time frames, you're definitely taking some partial profit into a move and then, setting a stop so that if daily consolidation begins, you don't, you're not buying at $1 and we're about to head back to, 80 cents. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. So got to factor that in. Just ensure that, you're extra careful with your stops after something has already run so significantly. If we break bull tomorrow, how would I react? So you got to break bull and hold it, obviously. If we just spike up and then give it back and hit a new low, that's obviously different. But it will be, again, it's for me, it's the clear statement that's either the higher low or I'm wrong. So if I'm playing a BCH potential cup and handle, that weekly is the must hold level. My thesis is invalidated. If I'm saying BCH is a weekly cup and handle and I'm in for that, if that level breaks, I'm wrong. You are wrong. So, for a bunch of these altcoins, ideally we have a level, on the strong ones, ideally we have a level where we say that's the daily higher low or I'm wrong into tomorrow. Doge, if tomorrow rolls around and we're trading up at 28 cents, then we have to hold 25.6. And that's the level to hold to keep the bull strong on the daily. If we break it, then it's a red flag. Like all the 2-day inverse head and shoulders patterns that I was talking about. We already have the level. This level needs to hold. Well, I'll take that back. Because again, when you get a reaction first thing, what if it's a quick dip and then a big lower wick? That's still a 2-day higher low. So it's not as clear of an invalidation point on the 2-day inverse head and shoulders setups as it is on some of the others. But again, ideally, aggressive or conservative. Aggressive, you're going to be positioned long, at least a bit, into the FOMC. And then maybe if it's a bullish reaction and we get the all clear, then you add to those longs. Patient wants the dust to settle. What I always say with the FOMC reaction is, let's just say we get a 25 basis point cut and the market was pricing that in. The volatility comes when Powell speaks at 2:30. So that's an hour and a half. We're talking stocks. The stock market has an hour and a half Wednesday to react. That's not much time at all for billions of dollars to be moving around. So it's really Thursday and Friday. There's been plenty of times where we get a bullish reaction for 2 hours Wednesday afternoon, and then Thursday and Friday we give it all back and it's a fake out. I'm thinking back over, prior years. So what you want to see is the reaction that we get Wednesday afternoon. Thursday's the confirmation day to let you know, yes, that is the direction of the reaction and not a fake out. So it's not just the 1 day instantaneous reaction that we're looking for. It's really the rest of the week. And again, another thing I keep saying is you want to see IWM break bull because it's a rising wedge right now. If it breaks bull, we're going to all-time highs. And again, that's just an indication of risk on appetite for the stock market. And so obviously we want a risk on appetite if altcoins are going to get some risk on. APLD, that's not crypto, is it? We already hit 5-minute oversold yesterday. That was extended. It's not. We already hit 5-minute oversold this morning. So there's no 5-minute backburners on the table. As soon as daily consolidation starts, you go to hourly. Hourly is then the time frame that you watch the backburners on. So we're not close to hourly oversold, but once daily consolidation begins, that's then the time frame that I'm next waiting for on the backburner. BTBT. I don't know the details of BTBT. The biggest difference that's going to set aside these crypto treasury companies is how aggressively are the companies selling shares? And how are they selling shares? You could sell shares on the open market or to a private investor or whatever, but if a company is actively, if you got a 10 million shares to sell for BMNR to raise capital to buy ETH with, and BTBT is raised, that's the difference maker in whether something's holding well or going to act as a laggard, because it's just downward pressure, right? It's supply and demand that causes prices to do their things. And if a company is raising a bunch of capital through selling shares, they're just hammering supply that is outweighing the demand. And so that's the biggest factor to be watching. I mean, BTBT, we're going to look for a daily high or low here. We've got to confirm the first daily uptrend. This is the weekly high or low. No, monthly. Again, another just sideways name for years. But I mean, in terms of SBET and BMNR, that's the biggest difference with these companies. And so I don't know the intricate fundamental details of how rapidly they're selling. And that's why the charts are so useful, right? They can give us, even if it's not public information, how rapidly they're selling. The charts can give us an indication. And we can say that, if I'm comparing SBET to BMNR, BMNR is the better play, like very clearly. Maybe that changes eventually, but that is glaring at the moment. So long story short, I don't have the answer as to why BTBT is lagging so much, but I would assume it's less, demand, less buying power. You can't match Tom Lee going on CNBC to pump his name or his stock. And the potential that they may be diluting more for all we know. I don't know. I don't know Moon well. So definitely not a good sign to reject from resistance and break support. Granted, the support break had a lack of follow through, but that's a hard rejection. So again, just marking the zones, bulls need to confirm the daily uptrend from here. If we're going to say, okay, that's a successful back test and hold of support. And again, then we just have a very wide sideways range. And the bulls have their backs against the wall in the sense that, best case for bulls, we look for a tightening range here. But they've got to prove it and get this weekly bounce going. So Mana had the weekly equilibrium bull break, which was great. We didn't break the second level. So we got to set this daily high or low off EMA 12, off this back test of resistance, and give it another go. We retraced more than bulls want to see, ideally. But we need a 4-hour uptrend back to bulls. Man, it is not liquid on Coinbase, huh? Gaps on the hourly chart. I really dislike gaps on shorter term time frames. It just shows you there's a lack of liquidity. If something has gaps on the 5-minute chart, I don't even trade it. But Mana. Okay, so we have a 4-hour uptrend. We're trying to set the daily high or low. It's going to be a daily inside bar. And this inside bar needs to break bull tomorrow to set the daily high or low. And then that's now our most important short-term level. Because if that breaks, we confirm a daily downtrend. And we would then call it a weekly equilibrium breaking bull with 0 follow-through, which is a red flag. So as soon as we set these daily high or lows, got to hold them through the FOMC into the end of the week. Quad witching, yep, that's Friday. Quad witching, the only thing quad witching means to me is anticipate some more volatility Friday afternoon than normal. Because normally Friday afternoons are slow. But on quad witching, you can get volume and volatility spikes that are out of the norm. But in terms of, it's quad witching, so I'm bullish or bearish, there's no edge there. It just tells you to anticipate volatility. And it also tells you that volume is less of an indicator because, at least with stocks, the first 5-minute candle of the day has a volume surge to do with quad witching that, I then can't do comparative analysis. Meaning, sometimes I'll look at the first 15 minutes of volume on the day and I'll compare it to yesterday and say, oh, we're going to have a really high volume morning today. But with quad witching days, I can't do that because you're going to have really high volume the first candle. How do you determine stock picking for day trading? Volatility. I want the volatility. Tesla is my go-to for years and years and years. Great volatility both directions. Recently, this year, Quantum, IONQ. Monthly cup and handle just confirmed, but tons of volatility. Great. Look at today. Just great in both directions. You start the day, you dump, you get a 15-minute back burner. So we'll go over this one real quick. 3.5% dump in 15 minutes, and then you just V-shape 7%. But it was a 15-minute back burner to mark a 4-hour higher low. 4-hour bull flag confirmed, continuation. Tesla gave us a 15-minute back burner yesterday. I was playing that bounce. I missed IONQ today, but I played this Tesla bounce into yesterday afternoon. Just a little day trade. But it was the same thing. 15-minute oversold, marked the 4-hour higher low. There's a lot of back burners in stocks recently because the market's gone straight up for 2 weeks. There are way less back burners in crypto, way less confident back burners in crypto. And boy, do I love them. I traded metal miners back burner today. GDX, look at hourly oversold. Marked it by 6 pennies. Played that bounce for the day trade. Back burners are just my bread and butter. And because so many altcoins are chopping around in long-term sideways ranges, that's not a back burner setup. You got to be in breakout mode. So like Sol, or actually let's go Hype, just because Hype was blue sky. Ideally, you want to be blue sky. But hype, did we get to hourly oversold? No, just missed it. So not a good one. But a name like hype, I'd be looking for a back burner. Yeah, just missed it. Right there, we got within a fraction of a percent there as well. So being front run a bit. Yeah, I like BNB. I've been talking about BNB for a while just because, again, when so many altcoins were looking weak, Binance wasn't. You know, back here, I remember talking about, remember the streams? Who was watching back in March? I was talking about this weekly equilibrium a lot. And from that point forward, it's been a lead bull. Binance to 1,000, that's a reasonable, nice round target. I don't know HYPD stock. Key resistance test, volume's pretty, well, it's not too bad. Double-digit millions. So there's our resistance wall. We're failing it. I mean, this I would call a cup and handle as well. If we can daily bull flag, don't let that retracement get, simple statement. If we hold daily EMA 12, it's a daily bull flag and a potential cup and handle into gap fill. Worth paying attention to see if this daily consolidation can remain nice and strong in a bull flag. MSTR. So I talked long ago about believing that the premium top for the cycle was in just because it's insane move to 500 plus. And then we talked about how losing this base and the perfect back test and rejection. So here's your base. This is your key support, shorter term. You lose it, perfect back test and rejection. We're leveling out now. Volatility's coming here. But my simple statement has been if 358 is resistance, then the bears have control. But you got to be cautious of MSTR divided by Bitcoin hitting fresh lows. Did we already do it? Nope. But if this breaks bear, that's going to tell me, yeah, you were right. The premium top is in. And we're going to look for that to fade. And you know, what was his name? Chanos? Jim Chanos? Famous dude in numbers. His play was long Bitcoin, short MSTR. I loved that trade. Just the setup for it. And it's been working. All right, a couple more. AVAX. So we broke this sideways range bull. You got to hold any back test of this resistance as support. Hasn't tested yet. So again, just the fact that we could say highest, we just hit the highest price in 7 months. Not many altcoins can say that. Now we have a short-term daily support level right there, double bottom. As far as major resistance, I'd be looking at this previous support zone as a resistance, 31, 32. But yeah, this is a lead alt bull. Again, without even looking, we know AVAX BTC has broken bull recently. So yeah, I like the setup, and just keep it a simple statement. As long as that previous resistance is support, the bulls are making progress. That zone, after a triple top, it's got to hold back as support. SUI. Again, range bound for sure. It's one of those 2-day inverse head and shoulders setups. So we got to break this bull. Monthly's hanging on. Monthly higher lows must keep forming. So yeah, we're chopping around sideways. 2-day inverse head and shoulders needs to confirm. Monthly higher lows are our guide. Tom Lee says Bitcoin could hit 200,000 by the end of the year. Do yourself a favor. Ignore everyone's price predictions. Nobody has a price prediction that I care about at all. Trends are your friend. Price action trends are so much more valuable than price predictions. Think about how much incentive. I've got nothing against Tom Lee. He's been a bull during a bull market, and it's proven to be correct. Think of how much incentive he has to try and convince himself and everybody else high price targets. His entire everything about his financial situation is tied to benefiting from high crypto prices. So obviously he's going to shoot the moon for his targets. You know, how long was Cathie Woods talking about insane targets that just became so unrealistic as year after year went by and her ETFs just kept underperforming? It's the same as people that have thumbnails that are just for fear or, you know, collapse imminent. Who's the dude? Is it Rich Dad, Poor Dad that's always calling for the crash? I don't even know. I don't care what any of these people say. You know, if you respect what somebody says because of their experience in a market, okay, that's fine. You can be aware of what they're saying, but you take it with a giant grain of salt, and you know that they're just guessing. And maybe it's an educated guess, but it's a guess. So I would never in a million years formulate a trade game plan based off someone's price target. And also, anybody that trades stocks know that it's a con game. These price targets from the banks are a con game to scam retail. I mean, you know, UPS has been underperforming significantly. Guess when a huge amount, a slew of downgrades and lowered price targets came out? Right at that low. It was a gap down for buying because it was the big banks trying to use their influence with price targets to shake people out right at the bottom. They don't have your best interests at heart. Maybe to a certain degree, but only if it's aligned with their best interests as well. Like when would Tom Lee ever be like, I think that's the top for the cycle? Like maybe when it's clear after the fact, sure, but he's not going to do that in advance. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate you all watching. Aggressive bull entry in IREN hourly backburner. First hourly oversold conditions, looking for a daily higher low with EMA 12 in play. All right, thanks for the likes and stuff. Appreciate you watching. FOMC, again, volatility at 2 p.m. More volatility likely at 2:30 p.m. onward. But it's not just those 2 hours we care about. We care about Thursday, Friday as well. Does IWM shoot up to all-time highs? Is it a bearish reaction, but we just set a daily high or low in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ? If so, then that's just fine. Daily consolidation is inevitable there. Bitcoin weekly lower high is a possibility on the table. But we have daily higher lows as our guide, and our new most important support is 114.4. We'll see what we get. Establish game plans for both directions in terms of a bullish reaction or a bearish reaction. One day at a time. Do good things. Love you.